I'm going to begin with a 6-inch piece of watercolour card. Now this is about 425 GSM or about 200 pounds, so it is quite heavy. And I'm going to be using some archival inks, so I'm using the Sepia, Tiger Lily and the Aquamarine that you can see there. That's the Sepia one. And I'm going to use an ink blending foam, and these are the ones from Holtz and Ranger, and I'm just going to apply the ink directly onto the watercolour card with that ink blending foam and blending it while it's still wet, because these are archival, they are permanent, so they don't reactivate with water, so I need to get in there and make sure that they blend while they're still damp. So I'm first of all putting down the Aquamarine, and I'm just going to put the colour in the two opposing corners, top right and then bottom left, obviously depending on which way you have the card round. And then I'm going to leave space for the Tiger Lily ink, and when I bring that Tiger Lily ink I'm going to make sure that I overlay the Tiger Lily some of the way into the Aquamarine so that it also produces a very vibrant, beautiful kind of verdigris green. And then I'm just going to overlay some more blue just where I think it needs to be a little bit more vibrant and a bit more in depth. And the final result of the colour looks kind of like a misty, kind of nebulous background. So next I'm going to bring out the Sepia archival ink, and this is the Flourish stencil from Holtz and Stampers Anonymous. And using that Sepia, I'm just going to put some of the brown colour through the stencil just in the corners, just to add a kind of nice little bordery kind of frame. And for the eagle-eyed amongst you, you'll notice that I've also added a little bit of the Tiger Lily colour just very, very lightly into the centre of the piece of watercolour card, because it did look a little bit too white and a little bit too bright. So next, still using the Sepia archival ink, I've got this very old, almost like French script stamp that I bought from Michael's a long time ago, and I've removed it from the block, and I'm just going to very unevenly just stamp into the background just to add a little bit of detail, a little bit of texture into that blended coloured area. I really enjoy creating these shadow box projects because they don't take very long to do. They're quite quick and easy, but once they're complete, they're very, very effective. So I'm just using the heat gun just to dry off the archival ink, just to make sure everything's nice and dry and set before I add my focal point. And to stick my focal point down, I'm going to use my trusty matte medium from Podge. So I'm going to apply a very generous layer of the matte medium onto the base of my project, and then I've already cut out my focal point from a digital art journal collage set which I've just completed, but I wanted to use these beautiful little flutterby Flutterby fairies on this project because I think the colours work absolutely beautiful together. So now they're stuck down, I'm just going to grab my heat gun and just go over just to make sure it's all nice and dry and sealed before we move on to the finishing touches really. So the final addition to this project is going to be just the word dream, which I've already printed out onto a piece of card and mounted it on a couple of foam pop dots or foam pads, and I've just added a little bit of the colour of that sepia around the border just to make it pop a little from the background. So once I've stuck down the word dream onto my project, I'm going to pop it to one side and then I'm going to start work on the frame. So this is the 6x6 plain wooden frame, and I've taken my modelling paste from Windsor & Newton and using the same stencil that I did on the background, which is the Flourish stencil from Tim Holtz and Stampers Anonymous, because I want the patterns to flow from the inside to the outside. I'm going to apply some of the modelling paste through the stencil just on the outside of the frame. I am going to apply the modelling paste to all four sides of the frame, and you will see me adding the paste in, and then you'll see me removing the excess from the edges because I don't want any bits hanging off or smudging down the side. So you will see me remove bits of it from the edge like there. So I'll do the two opposite sides. So I've done what's now the left hand side, so I'll do the right hand side, and then I will dry that with my heat tool, and then I will apply the modelling paste through the stencil on the two remaining sides that have left to be done, and then I'll just tidy it up and then we'll be ready for painting. So just doing the last side of the frame now, so I'm just being a little bit careful, and yes, this video is still speeded up, but only twice its normal speed. So as you can see, I am doing it quite carefully, I am doing it quite slowly, just to make sure that I get a really nice sort of even coverage with the modelling paste. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab the heat gun, once I've tidied it up and just removed off the excess, and give it a really good blast to make sure that it is totally and utterly dry before we start to add our gold paint. So the gold paint that I'm going to be using for the outside of the frame is the Reeves Gold Acrylic, and it's just a standard gold. It's not antique or anything like that, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a couple of coats, because it will need a couple of coats of the gold to cover the modelling paste, because the paint will soak into the modelling paste as well, so it does go a little bit opaque-ish. Not opaque, it does soak in, so you can still see the white modelling paste underneath the gold paint. So I will give it 2 coats, and I'm just using a brush which is around about 3/4 of an inch, or maybe actually maybe only about half an inch, to apply the paint. And I'm trying to get it in all the nooks and crannies, make sure that there's no spaces left. So I will carry on with the music and you can watch me adding the paint, or you can, if you want to, just fast forward to the end. So just coming to the end of the painting of the front of the frame, and I will jump a little bit, there you go. So just cut to the very end, and you can see I'm using my heat gun just to dry off, make sure all of the paint is dry before we add our picture into the frame. So the final touch for the actual picture itself, now that everything's dry, is I'm using these Dazzling Details glitter glue from Stampin' Up, and I'm just adding some little almost floaty, sparkly points into the background before we add it to the frame. Now, because it's a shadow box, it's not going to be touching the glass. There is a bit of a depth, so it doesn't matter whether these are still wet when we actually mount it into the frame. Just having a little bit of a tidy up and a clean, and then I'm going to grab the frame, grab a piece of kitchen towel, and then I'm just going to lightly dust the front of the glass and the inside of the glass to make sure that there's no smudges or fingerprints before we add the picture in there. It should just drop in quite nicely, as I did measure it before I started, so I knew it was actually going to fit perfectly. And then we can just drop the frame back in, and then just drop down the catches to make sure it's all nice and secure and complete. And there you have it, one Flutterby Fairy Dream Shadow Box. So twice the size of the normal shadow boxes that I normally do. The normal ones are 3-inch, this one's 6, so as you can see it is a lot bigger, and I've actually gone round and painted the sides in gold as well now. So, and those girls are really cute, aren't they? Absolutely, I love them, absolutely love them, and I hope you do too. So if you've enjoyed watching the video, please remember to give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button just here. That's all from me for now. I will see you all again real soon. Bye for now.